Now, you said in your keynote speech that media convergence, or this trend of media convergence, is not just going to affect the TV industry, but the economy as a whole.
I think it's going to have an impact in the economy and also an impact in society. I think we are going from a society in which the accumulation of information was a competitive advantage for an individual into a society where all you need to know is where to look for stuff, because anyone can access the sort of what's called today the cloud, right? Or all the information and content that's floating around on the internet. You could ask me a question, and all I need to do is just reach into my smartphone, go into a Wikipedia or something, and I could get into a topic immediately without having any previous knowledge of anything. So I think it's having a transformational effect on society, not just on the economy. On the economy specifically, I think we need to be able to explain the value of intellectual property. I mean, when we start dealing with issues like piracy, which have been greatly facilitated by the explosion of computer networking, I think some people in some places tend to underestimate the value of intellectual property and believe that it's so easy to copy or access, it really has no value. And I think this is one of the big paradigm shifts in our history that we need to sort of continue to advance and evolve, that all these things that have been created, although they're easy to download or easy to copy, they do have a value, and they've taken a lot of hundreds or thousands of man-hour of effort to put together, like a movie or a television show, and just because technology allows for distribution and duplication, it's not okay to do that, and I think we've got a lot of work to do as a society. But that's one of the ways in which technology is greatly impacting the economy. I mean, there are industries that employ hundreds of thousands of people that are threatened because today it's a lot easier to steal or duplicate intellectual property and distribute it freely. So we have some challenges that we need to work on.
Right. So how is the American media bracing for all these changes?
Well, I wish that there was a magic wand that you can just wave and it will cure all your problems. I think we got to do several things. I think we have to understand and protect intellectual property in ways that consumers and audiences understand that downloading an illegal movie is just like grabbing a DVD off a store and walking off the store with it, which you're stealing it. We got to do a lot of cost reassessment to really understand how is the decrease of revenues like advertising or DVD sales impact our production costs. So we got to adjust accordingly. We need to make sure that we're not spending the same things we were spending a decade ago when our revenues were a lot more stable. We also have to explore the next generation of content. We got to start producing original content for the internet and understand what is the optimal amount, what's the optimal type of content, and what kind of revenues can we get in return by producing specifically for the internet. Those are things that no one really knows now, but I think we got to start thinking very carefully.
There's an increasing number of American companies that are joining hands with foreign companies for co-production, and I suppose that sort of explains the cost effectiveness aspect that you mentioned, as well as the new content development aspect.
I think when I look at co-production, it's one of the things that we're pursuing also very aggressively. I think the financial aspect is one of them. I think it's important because it helps sort of share risk on a lot of these initiatives. But I also do believe, and again, having been lucky to live in Latin America and in Europe and now in the U.S., I do believe that there is a tendency in which audiences are becoming significantly more homogenized or have tastes in ways that are starting to become the same. Television shows, movies travel around the world, and there's some certain pop culture phenomena that are the same in a lot of countries. So when it comes to co-production, I do believe that there's a very interesting element in having different minds from different parts of the world agree on what's interesting or compelling or entertaining, and I think as American companies become more global, and as global companies start to expand into foreign markets that are not their traditional markets, you start to see very interesting things happening, and a lot of interest in partnership, and a lot of interest in understanding, how can we work together towards I would call it a new global entertainment order.
So all of this is a new challenge, a lot of work for the TV studios, the media business in general, but for consumers, it's a very welcome change, isn't it?
For consumers, it's the best time ever.
Yeah.
I think the consumer has an ability to tap into a lot of things at very low or marginal cost from every place. It's really a great time to be a consumer. It's also a great time to have ideas, because now is the time, and anyone can publish their ideas, whether it's on a blog or upload them onto the internet, and it's gonna pave way for a lot more people participating into the creative process, and I think that's great.